WCW Monday Nitro number 170, December 14th, 1998. Let me reiterate. Do not go back and watch this show. You will regret it.
Unless you need to sleep.
No, not even that.
And if you are fighting insomnia, go ahead and watch this. It'll put you right to sleep.
Hey, Craig, if you're fighting insomnia, there's like 1,000 things I'd watch before this. This sucked. What if you can't go to sleep?
Then you're stuck watching it.
Yeah, you've got insomnia, and you're going to watch this?
I see.
God, this show is bad.
Let's start with the first shitty thing, which was the opening segment. Scott Putski versus Raven. Raven comes out. He's supposed to be like on strike or whatever because he's sad.
Sure.
So he's in street clothes, which is jeans, a t-shirt, and a leather jacket. That's what he wrestles in anyway.
The only thing missing from this and his gear is longer sleeves on his pants.
He's wearing pants, jean pants instead of jean shorts.
I didn't even know he was on strike. I thought this was just what he did every week.
Or whatever.
Did I not ask last week if this was leading anywhere?
Apparently not.
He's just a whiny
Yes, Craig?
baby.
He sits in the corner and whines, talks about his welcoming come here, is what he said. The cold, hard sting of latex. Actual words said by Raven on national television.
It was so bad. It was a Bray Wyatt promo.
What was he getting at with the cold, hard sting of latex?
Don't know, don't care.
Oh, fair enough.
It sucked.
Maybe just BDSM is his thing? I don't know.
That's entirely possible given the crew he's hung out with and the way they dressed the past year. So Canyon comes out, says, Putski, this is none of your business, leave.
And he
Putski
left.
Leaves. Geek of the week.
Jeez, he was such a fucking geek.
So,
And like, he's there and the ref's there and they're talking to each other. And apparently their discussion was, should we leave? And quite frankly, even though he was the geek of the week, like, I mean, he was a geek for coming out in the first place. You were booked against Raven and you thought you were going to have a match. That's why you're the geek of the week. You came down to the ring.
What a putz. Ski.
you've been saving that for days, haven't you?
Years. Like this was the first time you could use it, by the way. He had every opportunity he's ever been in the ring.
So Canyon tears into Raven. You get more airtime than anyone else without ever wrestling. True. Everyone is sick of it. Also true. And then he starts to spout some bullshit. Raven's got a pre-med degree. He went to an Ivy League school. He's got a $3.2 million trust fund. He has to put the decimal point in there. Can't just say more than $3 million.
No,
has to get it down to the $100,000. Yeah, bought you a Mercedes when you were 16. Raven says, my mom doesn't love me. Fuck you both. I don't want to know. I don't know where the segment is going. I don't care. I am tired of the Raven Kane storyline. And then, here's the payoff. They left.
Yep, just walked away.
Fuck this.
I mean, it did suck, but I was glad when they just left.
That's true. At least it was over.
I was not hoping they'd be there longer.
Viano 5 versus Eddie Guerrero.
Now, this was fun. This was like the highlight.
Until the end.
Of the whole show.
It's one of them.
There was just something about it, though. I don't want to say anything negative about this match, but man.
It was pointless.
This is the opener. It's a long match with a Viano. There's a bunch of rest holds. I mean, for fuck's sake, do Eddie Guerrero and Viano 5 need a bunch of rest holds? I'm so sick of rest holds in cruiserweight matches. And then...
So Eddie's random, mysterious, unnamed bodyguard, who was still random, mysterious, and unnamed.
And it was funny because Tony almost stooged off what his name was.
Did he?
These 5 weeks later, because I was like, what is that guy's name? Tony almost said it, and then he got sidetracked and never said the guy's name.
Well, we still don't know. He crotched Viano on the top rope after shushing the crowd, not to stooge him off. Eddie hit a superplex in the frog splash, but he did not pin the man. He called for the LWO, and suddenly the bell rang.
It's almost like they know that you're keeping track of the finishes, and they've got to make
years
sure
later,
that...
What's the stupidest thing we can make Vincent Verhey say out loud 19 years from now?
Like, the guy's pinned, but let's not pin him, and then just do a bullshit finish.
So the LWO comes out. Eddie cuts a promo on Viano. It's half Spanish, half English. He wants him to join the LWO, and Viano accepts because they had a wrestling match for 5 minutes.
Why didn't Viano join, like, a month ago?
Oh, no.
Like, what the hell's been going on here?
What changed between the opening of the show and in this match that changed Viano's mind?
Like, when they offered him a shirt, I was so mad. That was the first time that I wrote in all caps, I hate this show.
First time?
First time I wrote it here tonight.
Nitro party clips. Not only did they have their own Nitro grills, they had an honest-to-God ring.
Yeah.
One of the best Nitro parties they've had. Wrath versus Al Green. On a very depressing note, they pointed out the referee was Brady Boone, which caused me to look it up.
He's dead.
The day after this show.
Oh, really?
Whoa.
He was
I
right.
did not know that.
He did this Nitro. He did their TV taping the next night. He was driving home the next night, and he was in a car wreck and died.
God, I didn't know it was that soon.
Now we're all depressed. Well, I thought actually it was much earlier, which is why I looked it up. I couldn't be Brady Boone, but it was. So, Wrath and Al Green had a too long and boring match, but everyone still did go crazy when Wrath hit the meltdown for the win.
But that's the only thing they care about now. Like, they've killed Wrath, and they're trying to push him as the next Goldberg, even though, like, he lost. So, like, he's not going to be the next Goldberg. Went 5 times longer than it needed to. And, like you said, the finish was just a meltdown. What the fuck took so long?
I don't know.
Like, Goldberg has wrestled 10 minutes just to do a jackhammer. He gets in there, he kills him, he does a jackhammer. Why is Wrath going toe-to-toe with Al Green for 5 minutes?
That's a great question. Well, here we go. A bad show went flying off the rails.
But you know what? Before it went flying off the rails, this was great.
Bischoff was funny.
Bischoff was great. So, I've said this a million times. This is a great example. There's a difference between being a good talker and being a great promo. Miz is a great talker. One time in his entire career, I've wanted to see someone beat his ass. It's when he did the deal with Daniel Bryan. Eric Bischoff came out here. He talks for like 2 minutes. I am begging for Ric Flair to come out here and just beat the shit out of the guy. He was such a great heel.
Exactly. He was, everything he said, he was totally full of shit, and you, the viewer, knew that. But you also knew that Eric believed his own bullshit.
Yes! Exactly.
So, as Craig noted, Eric Bischoff said, he talks about Flair being stuck in the past and I'm looking to the future. Then he warns Ric Flair, as Craig noted, I am a trained killer.
Yeah.
And he pauses for a reaction, and there is none, which made it all better.
It actually made it better.
He talks about his karate background.
He says, I spent
7 years.
7 years honing my craft. Now, as a long-time fucking martial artist, I was like, 7 years? You did karate for 7 years? I was like, Flair, come out here and just kill this guy.
So he trained to be a trained killer for 7 years.
Yeah, 7 whopping years.
That's a lot of bodies.
Dude.
So he called Flair an old man, threatened to murder him with karate punches.
That's right.
He's a trained killer.
I guess so.
He was Craig at the border. The right one hits hard. The left one scares even me.
That's not what I said, Brian.
May as well have.
So Flair runs out. They play hide and seek for a bit. Eventually, Bischoff flees to the back, and Flair returns for a crazy promo.
Oh, dude. I'll kill you. If you don't, I'll kill you like Bischoff is going to kill whoever. This was the best chase in the history of wrestling. Flair is trying to get this guy, and they're playing tag, and all of a sudden, Bischoff makes a break for it, and he is fucking running. And Ric Flair runs even faster. And Bischoff sees him coming, and he sprints for everything that he's worth. They're running so fast that Bischoff splits off to the left, and Flair is running so fast, he can't split off.
Like a train.
He just keeps running straight up the ramp. Bischoff is out of here. I've never seen two guys run like this on a wrestling show.
It's almost like one wanted to kill the other, and the other one was terrified.
That's exactly what this was.
This time they tried to kill me. So Flair gives up on the chase. He goes back to do his crazy promo. I believe this is the first time he did his shtick of doing wrestling moves to an invisible man.
Nah, he's done them before.
Has he?
Yeah, but this was the first time he did the Flair bump into the corner.
He did the Flair flip in the corner at random, doing elbow drops to the logo, knee drops to the mat. They're in Florida, so he talks about all the times he bled in Florida with the Funks and Wyndhams and Dusty. Threatened to strangle Bischoff half to death. So he's getting more merciful by the week. Although he did say he would pull out Bischoff's heart to show he had no heart. And then, speaking of hearts, Flair goes to the corner, collapses, grabs his chest.
Okay, so for those of you that don't remember this at the time, I just want to make one statement here as we review the rest of this show. There were people who thought that this was real.
How?
Flair goes down in the corner, and Gene Okerlund, ever the professional, says, "We're going to head to a break." But they don't go to a break.
He actually said over the mic, get the camera off him.
Yep.
So they zoomed in for a close-up.
Yep. Says this man has hurt himself. Arn runs down, the doctor, the stretcher. The camera's on it the whole time. Mm-hmm. And they cart this guy backstage all the way into getting him into the ambulance.
David Crockett's there. David Flair is there.
People thought this was real.
Let's go over here. They don't treat him. They don't do CPR.
No.
They don't give him any medicine. They load the heart attack man onto a gurney and wheel him away. They do nothing to stem the tide, nothing to treat him.
No.
They just figure, we don't want him to die on TV. Let's let him die in the ambulance.
I mean, somewhat to be fair, Gene goes to the booth, and Gene has a health update. And Gene claims this was the shoulder that Flair had operated on. So I guess we're supposed to believe that at the time they thought Flair had hurt his shoulder.
For a half hour.
Not had a heart attack.
For a half hour, the announcers believe this has been a shoulder injury due to all the wacky bumps he was taking.
Yes.
Which would be fine, except when he was in the corner and a guy's attending to him, you could clearly hear Arn say he's having a heart attack.
Well, Arn's no doctor.
Yeah.
Kudos to Ric Flair for going along with this, by the way.
He was a company man.
Not to mention, everyone's there carting him into the ambulance. And so Bam Bam Bigelow takes the opportunity to sneak inside.
It's true. Very quickly, before we get to that, as they're loading Rick into the ambulance and Arn's saying, I'll go to the hospital with him, and Rick's calling Arn's name, Arn turns and shouts, somebody get his wallet and all that shit.
Notice that.
So they load Flair in the ambulance, and yes, as they're loading Flair in, Bigelow sneaks into the building.
How convenient.
Amazing time. Oh, he's just outside waiting for his chance.
There's Hall.
Why did Scott Hall crotch chop Bam Bam Bigelow?
Fuck if I know.
What?
If I recall correctly, they had heat in WWF, like for real.
So,
like the Click and Bigelow didn't get along. Or something like that.
I know that happened, but
it's fucking Nitro.
The Nitro audience is gonna remember that 4 years later.
Vinny, do you watch this show? All they do is shit that no one has any idea what's going on.
That's true. So Bam Bam whipped his ass. Nash arrives and shouts at Bigelow, and Goldberg's there. We get many, many, many minutes of these three men being held back and shouting. And somewhere in here, Terry Taylor booked a three-way.
When they announced that the main event of this show was going to be Goldberg, Nash, and Bigelow, my blood started to boil. And boy, it got to a true boiling point a little bit later on this program. But I just was like, you promised this fucking match last week, and you didn't deliver it. Now, us fucking idiots are supposed to believe that you're actually going to deliver it this week? Who do you think we are? Well, the answer is, they think we're idiots.
They do.
As we're going to find out here in a second.
So this whole thing, from Eric Bischoff coming out to Terry Taylor booking a three-way, I didn't time it. It had to have been at least 20 minutes. Probably more. It went forever. One great, big, long segment. And I don't remember how I reacted 19 years ago, but in the decades since, I've lost friends to heart attacks. This was no fun at all. This was shit.
This was bullshit, is what this was.
So it's been, let's see, they had the Bischoff promo, the heart attack, the brawl, and then before that, there was, God, I'm way up my notes here. We had Wrath and Al Green. So it's been a half hour since the last match. Mean Gene brings Kidman out for a promo. You fucking kidding me?
What'd they say?
Kidman calls out Ray. He thanked Ray, I think he said for opening doors, but he stressed for little guys like us. That's a quote. Little guys like us.
Well, he could say that. He's bigger than Ray.
I understand his name is Kidman. And they are little. We don't have to come out and say it. He offered Ray a title match if Ray promised no LWO interference. Ray accepted.
I was so furious here. As we'll get to later, Ray accepts the match and says, the LWO will not interfere tonight. I'm like, who the fuck do you think we are? And once again, the answer was, well, we think you guys are idiots. Because they do a fucking match, and what happens, Vinny?
Well, you see, they're doing this match, and nobody cares because some of them thought Ric Flair might be dead. So none of them care about the match. The announcers have now gotten word about shortness of breath and chest pains, and they're very somber. It's already a flat match. Kidman goes to a long chin lock. This thing just keeps going. And about 2 hours in, LWO runs in for the DQ. Fuck everyone.
These fans were so pissed off. Not even good heat, just angry, low, rumbling booing.
There was one pop, and that's when Kidman performed a top rope sky high on Rey Mysterio, and that was the only pop in the match. But it was a very spectacular looking move, but the crowd just really didn't care.
No.
Who could possibly watch this show? Like, how can you not switch to Raw?
I don't know. So the LWO runs in. Ray and Kidman work together to clean house. And then I think Kidman may have legit forgot how they're supposed to end, because he leaves, they beat up Ray, he comes back, and they beat him up too. They replayed the entire segment from when Bam Bam came into the building to the point it was separated and Terry Taylor booked the match. This is seriously like 5 minutes, and they played the whole thing over again. Now, I will say this. The second time, it was very clear, not only did Terry Taylor book them in a three-way, he also promised there would be no run-ins. Excuse me?
Yes, that is correct.
He promised there would be no run-ins.
They told us, stick around for this main event. We promise you're going to get a three-way, and nobody is going to run in.
How can they promise that?
They actually said those words.
Yeah, that's what Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster, said to me, the viewer.
Idiots. Assholes. I was so angry when I heard that.
Now, I knew he was lying when he said it, but even if you take him at his word, why don't you do that for all the matches?
Well, there is that. There is that.
Chris Jericho comes out for a promo, brings out some guy dressed like Conan, has a whiteboard, he's trying to explain how Conan used a bunch of foreign objects to beat him last week. Then he beat up the fake Conan and nobody cared.
I was just watching this thing thinking, you know, this might have been funny.
No.
But on this fucking show, this was absolute television death. Crowd was so dead for all of this, and it sucked.
This was not Jericho's best material.
What do we follow that up with?
Well, the Nitro Girls danced, and ordinarily I don't point that out anymore, but the Nitro Girls were the only positive thing about the show so far. So I'm going to credit them for keeping the show at some level of watchability. Emery Hale versus Barry Windham.
Emery Hale versus Barry Windham. Head-to-head with Monday Night Raw, you say? Mm-hmm. Man, oh man. Crowd was comatose.
Barry's out there wrestling not only in blue jeans, but also a denim vest. The whole match. It went back and forth for 2 minutes. Barry won with a superplex. Norman Smiley versus Saturn.
You know, this was where I first heard the announcement that the main event was going to have no run-ins. And they said no outside interference, because I guess a run-in and fucking outside interference are two different things. But what made me so mad about it was, number one, like, fuck you. And number two, if you're going to do the stip where you're going to tell us to stick around for the main event, because there will be no outside interference, why the fuck did you do that thing with Rey Mysterio where you promised no outside interference and fucking guys ran in? Like, are you that stupid? Why is this so hard?
So Norman Smiley's wrestling Saturn. Crowd is chanting twinkle toes at Norman, which I don't think he was used to getting any kind of reaction at all. So he kept looking at them and inciting more. Saturn snapped and whipped his ass. Maybe the coolest thing on the show, Saturn had a really cool chicken wing waistlock suplex. That was awesome.
The real best thing on this show and in this match was when the ref went down. Shat sneaks into the ring. He gives Saturn a super kick, and then he does the robot and a crotch chop. That was amazing. So, Saturn is dead. He is a dead body, and Norman Smiley makes the cover. And since the ref is down, to play off last week, Scott Dickinson runs down, and he gives a fast count to a dead guy.
Yeah.
I hate this show.
He got DVD last week, Brian. He was mad.
The guy was dead. What the fuck did you need to fast count for? I mean, hello? Like, I want to rewrite my whole book. I was not...
You were too kind on
I
them?
was too kind.
You went too easy.
This fucking sucked.
They paid off the thing from last week.
Get out of here. Come on. Yeah, no, where does it go from here?
Probably nowhere.
Bret Hart came out for a promo.
Oh, here's another good one. They're trying to convince us that Ric Flair had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Fucking Bret Hart comes out. He's just, hey, they're dropping like flies.
Yes. That's what he said.
People thought he had a heart attack.
So Bret's talking about how everyone's hurt because he put him on the shelf. He, of course, still has a bad groin, but he's still fighting through it. He's a 3-time U.S. champ. He said that, and I was like, record scratch. I watch this show every single week.
Where were we?
Yeah.
I remember there was the one with Luger. Remember Luger won? It was like an awesome moment, and then the next week Bret just showed up with the belt again.
Because then he lost it to Paige and won it back.
Yeah, so there you go.
So when he won it the first time? Sting?
No, the first time was Luger.
First time was Luger. So he won it from Luger, lost it to Paige and got it back. That's 2.
There must have been one other one somewhere. Who gives a shit?
Did him and Paige trade it off once?
They may
twice?
have. I don't remember. Bret hasn't even been with this company a year. And there's already been so many title switches we can't keep track of them all. So,
Well, you know, if they actually recapped when he won and lost titles, unlike with the Luger thing where he just showed up with the belt, and they never showed us one recap, if I recall,
that's true.
of him winning the belt
They just said
back.
he won it on Thunder.
Yeah.
So he calls out DDP, offers him a U.S. title match. Out comes Paige.
Geek of the Week falls for this. Bret's talking about his horrible groin injury, but he's willing to defend the title.
Paige is then attacked by a big fat giant and a wife beater. He had to have been fatter here than he was in that Rumble we just
Seriously,
watched.
where do you find a wife beater this big?
That's a good
I mean,
question.
this had to have been made by somebody in the back. There's no way this is merchandise. They can't make money off of it.
No.
It's impossible.
Who's going to buy a 12-foot wife beater?
Nobody. One guy.
Have to plow an extra cotton field to...
So he's out here looking like a bigger, even fatter Cassius Ohno. He tears apart the big WCW metal logo. He chokeslams Paige off the logo set through a wood thing. They go to break.
It was awesome because
Dude.
you ever seen the Wile E. Coyote hit the side of the mountain, and there's the impression of the Wile E. Coyote where he hit the mountain.
Yes.
This is what happened with Paige. He got chokeslammed through this stage, and there was a hole that was shaped like Paige.
Paige-shaped hole.
As he crashed
Yeah, the
through.
side of him, since Giants chokeslammed him sideways through the stage.
Yeah.
Couldn't even drop him back first.
Conan versus Stevie Ray.
Can I at least put over that Bret Hart's absolute bullshit look of shock when the Giant came out and chokeslammed him actually was the best thing on this show?
We can be fair.
Yes.
When something good happens, we will point it out. Celebrate it, really, because they're so rare.
Bret's face was just amazing.
So Conan versus Stevie Ray. Wade Boggs, baseball player, Brian, was in the front row. And so
I've heard of Wade Boggs.
Stevie Ray gets in his face. Wade Boggs was trying so hard not to laugh.
He should have just laughed.
Almost succeeded. So Booker T goes to use the slapjack, but Booker T takes it away, and Conan wins with the X Factor.
Dude, this fucking slapjack. I mean, could it have been any bigger? Like, how the hell did you hide that in your tights? It was like the size of...
It's a great setup line.
Jesus Christ. This show sucks.
Conan's give a crap is gone. He
Ever did?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
He came out with his wristwatch still on in this athletic competition. He didn't even bother
Did
to
you
take his watch
see
off.
the high spot they did right before the X Factor? It was so bad.
Bischoff comes out for a promo. It's serious now.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
got a sweatshirt on, a white sweatshirt on to cover up the logo, and he's got his eyeglasses on. He says, "Listen, earlier tonight, we did what we do to try to entertain people, and people sometimes ask about this business and just how real is it? Oh, fuck this, fuck this fucking show."
Hey, I'm actually going to say one positive thing about Eric here and this segment. When he came out, everybody's booing him. They're just hating this whole thing. He actually came across so sincere that the fans gave a standing ovation when he left.
Some did.
But still,
He got half golf claps and half low dole boos.
hey, that's pretty impressive.
Fair enough.
Because he convinced a lot of people this was real. And I mean, come on.
Yeah. So they go to break. The president of the company has just let everyone know we're all dropping character. This isn't part of the show. Ric Flair is actually having a heart attack. We hope it's mild. They come back, and here's Mean Gene, and he's just as Mean Gene as he's ever been before.
Man, he's all excited.
He don't give a shit.
Hey, we're here on national television.
He calls out Booker T.
An all-time great.
He did call Booker T an all-time great.
Yes.
Here, before he'd ever main evented, I think, a single show. Booker T offers prayers to Flair and his family. He says Stevie Ray made his choice. He has joined the NWO. Stevie comes out. He's mad at Booker. Shouldn't be praying for Ric Flair. You should be praying for yourself. These stupid people don't give a darn about you. That's what he said. Took credit for looking after Booker when they were kids, making him part of a great tag team in Harlem Heat. Said, you need one of these. And he gave him an NWO shirt and he left. And Booker had nothing to say and he walked away. Backstage, a mysterious woman identified herself as Scott's mother.
I was done. I was fucking done when Raven's mom showed up.
I was thinking Scott Hall, Scott Steiner, Scott Norton. I forgot about Scott Levy. Raven's mom's there.
The only good thing about this was Canyon trying to get $50 out of her to take her to Raven.
She had claimed she had boarded a Learjet.
She came all the way here in her Learjet. Because that's what people say.
Get the fuck out of here. This show is so horrible. And then they go back to the announcers and Tony says, and I quote, to say that we are drained is a gross understatement. I was like, just wait, dude. Just you wait, buddy.
I feel you, Tony. I feel you.
We had Scott Hall versus Horace.
So Scott's on his way down to the ring. Tony, who is drained, which is a gross understatement. Now he says, Flair allegedly had a heart attack. He seems to be doing okay, I guess.
Okay.
That was his update.
So they had a basic boring match here. I will say, looking for positive things to say.
Oh, by the way, they also noted they'll be in Charlotte Thursday.
Oh, great.
What timing?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Looking for positive things to say. Horace had a long sleeper, and Hall almost went out. But when his arm didn't drop the third time, and he fired up to his feet, because he was a heel for almost his entire career, at least at the top level. I know there was a brief Razor Ramon babyface run, but he was so wacky, selling the sleeper, but also firing up and getting the crowd behind him. Everyone started to cheer on what had been a very long, very bad show.
When he put the sleeper on, I actually fell asleep.
That's also possible, yeah. So credit to Scott Hall for waking everyone up after the sleeper hold. And then the B-teamers hit the ring for the DQ. At least this was shorter than the Ray and Kidman match. Oh, Disco, who apparently has joined the Wolfpack and no one else knows it.
Well, he's just got himself a shirt.
He bought a shirt.
Yeah, it's
Merch
very
stand.
confusing.
He runs out to hit the ring and make the save. Here's another good thing. This, at the time, I thought was the best thing in the show. Scott Norton grabbed him and powerbombed him in half.
Oh my God, he killed him.
Howled with laughter.
Oh my God, he just killed this guy.
Just destroyed him.
This was one of those power bombs where the guy's knees actually hit him in the face.
Yeah.
When they come down.
Yes.
He just folded him in half. It was amazing.
Oh, it was beautiful. Van Hammer versus Scott Steiner.
Can you imagine they put this on television? Scott Steiner and Van Hammer.
Why couldn't I have 4 extra minutes of the main event?
Well,
Instead of
because we
this?
needed Van Hammer on the show, and we needed Steiner doing a promo talking about something that was cackulated.
Van Hammer
That's what he said.
doing his hippie gimmick for maybe the first time. I forget.
I don't think so.
No,
He may
he's done
have.
it
No, he
before.
didn't. Okay. Regardless.
The music was new.
I see. Regardless, Steiner killed him, beat him with a Steiner recliner. Goes to cut his promo. He did, in fact, say that everything the NWO did was calculated.
Cackulated.
He calls out Lex Luger. He says,
Like
Lex,
Dusty wrote that promo.
Lex should be fighting for the world title. He should have won World War III.
Maybe Dusty was going to write the promo for him, but Steiner was like, I can't read all that. Just tell me what you want me to say. And Dusty said, and everything in the NWO is calculated. So he went
Maybe-
out there and pulled it off.
Dusty dictated it,
Yes, exactly.
and his iPhone
Steiner's
picked
right.
it up.
Cackulated? Cackulated. Okay.
Whatever.
Wrote it down.
You're the boss.
There's no squiggly line back then.
No.
You had to write on a piece of paper
That's right.
and get a dictionary like on that NWA show.
So Lex comes out to hear what they have to say. Bagwell starts talking about how he broke his neck and Lex is the one who got him back in the ring. What? When did this happen? Where did
Well,
this
he
come from?
said that when he was injured, he called Lex for exercise advice.
Yeah, advice.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
Because, all those times Lex broke his fucking neck, had to come back.
They say Conan, Nash, and Sting, they've never done anything for you. You're always giving Lex, you never receive. They offered him the black and white shirt, but Lex just smiled and walked away. At last, it was time for the main event.
Okay, can I just say something about this here? Last week, it was supposed to be Nash, Goldberg, and Bigelow, right? They announced that midway through the show.
Yep.
They talk about it the whole show, and then it doesn't happen. This week, they start talking about it again. They sign the match. They announce it will be no disqualification or no run-ins, no interference,
There will
whatever.
be no run-ins.
They plug it for an hour and a half. Bigelow starts coming down to the ring, and Tony says, "This is an unexpected match." A fucking unexpected match? You've been talking about it for 2 weeks now. What happened at the end?
Well, before we get to the end, it went like 3 or 4 minutes. It was mostly fine. There was a point where Goldberg locked Nash in a knee bar, and Goldberg's not the most delicate worker, and Nash is not the most sturdily built man. Like 20 years later, I screamed, "Careful!"
Yes, he's brittle.
Yes, and he just had his knee replaced. Maybe because of this knee bar, for all I know. Goldberg gets a couple of spears, but he's never able to get the jackhammer. He's going to do it to Nash. And then Scott Hall attacks him. He runs in when they promised there would be no runs in.
He runs in for outside interference.
He interferes from the outside. It's a disqualification in a 3-way match where we were promised there would be no run-ins.
It only gets worse.
Please tell me that someone, somewhere, was punched in the face as a result of this show.
Doubtful.
Someone needed physical beatings.
Doubtful.
So there's 4 guys.
What's funny is at the time, Eric was trying to lay the law down. Like, apparently Stevie Ray didn't want to do a job for Conan. And Bischoff got wind of it and said, "Fuck you, you're doing this job." He was trying to lay down the law during this show.
So Hall and Bigelow are brawling on the floor. Nash and Goldberg, who are main eventing the pay-per-view in 2 weeks, had a miserably bad brawl in the ring. My God! And the show ends that way. Brian, do you have the finisher music ready?
Oh, yeah, I can get it ready. I'd like to note, by the way, that at the time of this show, Goldberg's merch sales had slowed down drastically. They couldn't figure out why.
Huh. Weird.
Alrighty. What music do we use?
You pick. I don't know the names.
The contest music?
Sure. Just something wacky.
That's what it was.
All right, hold on here. Damn it. Why is this so hard? Here we
Now I feel bad. There we go. The finishes on this show were: no match because Raven was whiny. No finish because one guy was recruited to join the other guy's gang. Clean pin. DQ when Mexicans attacked an hour into the match. Clean pin. Pin on a fast count by a biased ref after the first ref got bumped and 2 dudes interfered. Pin after a guy pulled out a foreign object but didn't use it. DQ due to gang attack. Clean submission, though it was with a crooked ref. And DQ due to run-in in a 3-way where they promised there would be no run-ins in this 3-way.
There you go.
That show was fucking horrible.
That was one of the worst shows I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And there's only more to come.
It may be time. Listen, I know we've all had fun with these Nitro reviews.
We got it.
It may be time to pull the plug.
Vinny, let's just get it over with so we never have to do it again. 5 years from now, people go, "Hey, why don't you watch those old..." No, we already did it! Go to the archives. Let's just get it over with.
For some reason, our listeners are kind of gluttons for punishment.
No,
And when I say
we
that,
are.
When I say that, they want us to be punished.
Yes.
And they love it.
Yes.
We're
So,
really gluttons.
Obviously.
They're going to want us to, get the TNA network and start watching old.
No, well, I'm
TV
not gonna, so
I'm
they can
a glutton for
get out of
nourishment.
here.